long before Rome, long before Greece. Even before the pharaohs of Egypt, there was Mesopotamia, the land between two mighty rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. Here, thousands of years ago, humanity took its first steps into organized society. People who once lived as wandering hunters began to gather, to farm, to build. It was here that the first cities rose, where the first kings ruled, where the first laws were written. Mesopotamia is not just a chapter in history. It is the very beginning of history itself. The fertile land. Mesopotamia lies in the heart of the Middle East, stretching across modern-day Iraq, parts of Syria, and southeastern Turkey. Unlike the deserts around it, this land was fertile, blessed by the floods of the Tigris and Euphrates. Every spring, the rivers spilled over their banks, leaving rich soil behind. Farmers learned to harness this gift of nature. They dug canals, built dikes, and transformed barren plains into green fields. Wheat, barley, dates, and vegetables flourished. Livestock provided meat, milk, and wool. For the first time in human history, food was plentiful enough to feed not just families, but entire communities. And where there was food security, there was the possibility of civilization. The Sumerians, cities of clay and stone. By 3100 BCE, the Sumerians had founded the world's first true cities. Uruk, perhaps the greatest of them all, is often called the very first metropolis in human history. Imagine its skyline, massive mud brick walls stretching for miles, protecting tens of thousands of people. At its center rose the ziggurat, a giant stepped temple that reached toward the heavens. Priests offered sacrifices to the gods, while merchants filled the markets with goods: grain, cloth, copper, and lapis lazuli from distant lands. The streets of Uruk bustled with artisans, farmers, and scribes. Life here was ordered, structured, and complex, a sharp contrast to the nomadic world that had come before. The invention of writing. But the Sumerians gave the world something even more powerful than their cities: writing. At first, they scratched simple marks into clay tablets to record trade: sheep, barley, silver. Over centuries, these marks evolved into cuneiform, a full system of writing made of wedge-shaped symbols pressed into wet clay. For the first time, ideas could be stored, shared, and remembered across generations. The Sumerians wrote myths, hymns, prayers, and even the world's first epic, the story of Gilgamesh, king of Uruk. This was a revolution greater than any army or empire. Writing gave humanity memory. Akkad, Sargon, and the First Empire. Around 2330 BCE, a powerful leader emerged from the city of Akkad. His name was Sargon. Sargon conquered the city-states of Sumer, uniting them under his rule. With disciplined armies and clever administration, he created the world's first empire, stretching from the Persian Gulf all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. His legend grew so large that later generations told stories of his miraculous birth, abandoned as a baby in a basket upon a river, destined to rise to greatness. The Akkadian Empire lasted nearly 2 centuries. Though it eventually crumbled, it left behind the idea of empire itself, that one ruler could dominate vast lands and diverse peoples. Babylon, Hammurabi, and the Code of Laws. Centuries later, Babylon rose to power. At its peak in the 18th century BCE, it was ruled by King Hammurabi. Hammurabi is remembered not only as a conqueror, but as a lawgiver. His famous Code of Laws was carved into stone steles for all to see. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, these words are echoes of Hammurabi's vision of justice. His code dealt with property, trade, marriage, theft, and crime. It made law visible, permanent, and binding for everyone, rich or poor. Under Hammurabi, Babylon became a beacon of order and stability, and legends later told of the Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, said to have been built by later kings, a marvel of beauty rising above the desert sands. Assyria, masters of war. To the north, another power grew, Assyria. For centuries, they were feared as the most ruthless warriors of the ancient world. The Assyrians mastered iron weapons, advanced siege towers, and chariots that thundered across battlefields. Their armies showed no mercy, conquering cities, deporting populations, and ruling through terror. Yet, behind this cruelty, there was brilliance. They built grand palaces decorated with reliefs showing kings hunting lions and gods watching from above. They established an organized road system to move their armies quickly. Most importantly, they built libraries. King Ashurbanipal of Nineveh collected thousands of clay tablets, preserving myths, histories, and prayers that would otherwise have been lost forever. Because of him, we can still read the Epic of Gilgamesh today. Decline and legacy. But no empire is eternal. The Akkadians fell to famine and invasion. Babylon was conquered by the mighty Persians. The Assyrians collapsed under rebellions and foreign attacks. And yet, Mesopotamia's achievements endured. Writing, law, mathematics, astronomy, irrigation, and monumental architecture. All of these began here in the land between rivers. When later civilizations rose, Persia, Greece, Rome, they built upon the knowledge first forged in Mesopotamia. The first chapter of history. Mesopotamia was more than just a place. It was the cradle of civilization. Here, humanity learned how to live together in cities, how to govern, how to record thoughts, how to dream of eternity. From the first bricks of Uruk to the laws of Babylon, from the libraries of Nineveh to the gardens of Babylon, Mesopotamia laid the foundation of human history. This was the world's first empire, the first chapter of our story. And as we journey through history's great empires, we will see how each one carried a piece of Mesopotamia within it.